Just like the first time I came here, isn't it? We were talking about automobile insurance. Only you were thinking about murder. I was thinking about that anklet.
And what are you thinking about now?
Hi, welcome to Shoe Shorts. In this comparative study, I will be exploring the similarities and differences between the city of Los Angeles and Billy Wilder's 1944 noir film, Double Indemnity, and Ridley Scott's classic neo-noir film, Blade Runner. My topic is materialism in the city of Los Angeles. The similarities between the city of Los Angeles are striking, and it deserves thorough investigation of proxemics, shadows, and camera angles of how the setting of Los Angeles and consumerism is portrayed in the two very different movies. I also want to explore how the perception of the world changed in 40 years.
Frankly, Miss Dietrichson, we suspect suicide.
It is important to study these films together, because the city of Los Angeles is included in both movies, and they both have different portrayals of the city that sets the tone for the rest of the movies. In both films, Los Angeles is portrayed as a capitalist, consumer city, as referenced by the heavy emphasis on insurance fraud in Double Indemnity and the constant shots of the jumbotrons and blimps in Blade Runner, which are advertising certain products and or services. The cultural context of each film is significant, especially when juxtaposed. Double Indemnity is a classic film noir and was filmed in the US in 1945. During that time, World War II was just ending and the post-Depression era had started. There was a lot of greed and paranoia in cities around that time. Large-scale corporations were also rising and more jobs were being created. There was a huge wave of immigration, and overall, it was booming for the rich. These contexts are represented in the film as Mr. Dietrichson owned a huge house and bought insurance. Buying insurance was important during this time, as it was considered as commerce. The McCarran-Ferguson Act was introduced in 1945, which cemented the state-based regulatory system which controls insurance. Meanwhile, Blade Runner is a neo-noir film and was filmed in 1981. During that time, the Cold War was still going on strong. There was an unspoken fear of conflict and overall pessimism when concerned with the future. Corporations were also getting stronger, and advertising was getting more popular. These contexts are represented in the film by massive jumbotrons and corporations having authority. Replicants were also being hunted down because they were outsiders. This could allude to the fear of outsiders due to the Cold War and a sense of paranoia. In this scene from Double Indemnity, we see Walter walking up to Mr. Dietrichson's house. We see bright sunshine everywhere, and the children in the shot invoke a sense of heavenly purity, indicating a false sense of security. Mr. Dietrichson's house could be seen as a large, looming presence, the first sign of darkness in this shot. During the scene, Walter talks about
California Spanish houses everyone was nuts about 10 or 15 years ago. This one must have cost somebody about $30,000. That is, if he ever finished paying for it.
In fact, Los Angeles was ranked the ninth most expensive city at the time this video was released in 2024. This is where greed and materialism comes into play. In my research, I found that our social lives can make us materialistic about things. Everyone wants what others have to prove they're better than others, and our social lives and better form of communication have only made that easier and more volatile. In Blade Runner, this materialism is even more enunciated and clear for the audience to see. This is a long shot. Seeing Walter get further and further away could symbolize him disappearing deep into a hole he cannot get out of. Later, we can see a wide shot of Walter walking around the room. The room is dark, with Venetian blinds being the only source of light. To a viewer, it would almost seem like being suffocated, the light disappearing and vision blurring. Later, Mrs. Dietrichson enters the room, and Walter and her talk about the two cars that are insured. Again, materialism. They have two cars, even though the city of Los Angeles had a basic yet operational subway system. This outlines the disparity between the lower and upper class. Later in the movie, we found Phyllis Dietrichson's real intentions.
Two people are going to ride at the end of the line, all right. Only I'm not going to be one of them. I've got another guy to finish my ride for me.
Just who are you talking about?
An acquaintance of yours. Mr. Zacchetti. Come on, baby. I just got into this thing because I happen to know a little something about insurance, didn't I? I was a sucker. I'd have been brushed off just as soon as you got your hands on the money.
Nobody wanted to brush you off.
For materialism. Nearly around the same time, Los Angeles is turned into a dark place, again reflecting Walter's suffocation and obsession. But what if the city isn't reflecting him? What if the city is changing him? At the beginning of the movie, we see the darkness Walter is consumed in. During the scene where he meets Mrs. Dietrichson, as all bright and sunny, as if the city is manipulating him into thinking all is well, a false sense of security. As Walter is drawn deep into vices such as exotic cars, alcohol, and lust, the city is telling him to come deeper, like a tempting courtesan, a femme fatale. Moving on to Blade Runner, in the scene we can see the dark city, full of advertising, blimps, and spinners. We also see Rick Deckard, but he isn't introduced in a special way. He's just there, part of the crowd. The rain also evokes a sense of loneliness, even when surrounded by so many people. The grimy feel and disconnected notes also make the viewer feel uneasy and claustrophobic. The sheer amount of advertising again brings the question of materialism and consumerism. Personally, I think this movie is the best example of a society which is isolated even in the existence of social media. The camera zooms in and weaves around the crowd. The streets feel grimy, but people just carelessly walk through the rain, only caring about themselves. It feels pessimistic, as if there is a fear that anyone can do anything. This pessimistic atmosphere could stem from the Cold War, as many people were fearing nuclear war around that time. It is one thing both Double Indemnity and Blade Runner have in common. They were all produced during conflicts, when there was always an underlying sense of paranoia and the fear of the unknown. Later in the movie, Deckard meets Rachel at Tyrrell Corp, where they make replicants. The yellow/orange lighting in the scene is a complete U-turn from the lighting in the beginning. This difference could signify a sense of decadence, and is all but confirmed by the expensive artificial owl. Again, materialism comes into play, as Tyrrell owns an artificial owl solely for devices. During a later scene, we can see that Los Angeles is desolate, dirty, and filled with crime. This directly contrasts Tyrrell's office. This contrast and disparity can be compared to Double Indemnity, where Phyllis's house and the outside world also have a similar disparity. Like Double Indemnity, Blade Runner's darkness dominates most of the screen, except somehow, Blade Runner's Los Angeles seems tamer to me than Double Indemnity's Los Angeles. Now, I know how that sounds. How can a corporate wasteland be tamer than Los Angeles in the 1940s? The thing isn't that in Blade Runner, you already know how Los Angeles is, a corporate wasteland which is always rainy and materialistic. But Double Indemnity portrays Los Angeles as more insidious, with possible danger at every turn, and the hope that things will get better in the end. Well, they don't. False hope. That's what 1940s Los Angeles in Double Indemnity gives you. In the end, although Blade Runner was produced nearly 40 years after Double Indemnity, the striking similarities on the topic of materialism and the city of Los Angeles are still clearly seen today, even 80 years after Double Indemnity's release. In the end, I think both films should be celebrated as amazing pieces of art. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.
It's 10 times twice as dangerous. They've committed a murder. And it's not like taking a trolley ride together where they can get off at different stops. They're stuck with each other and they've got to ride all the way to the end of the line, and it's a one-way trip, and the last stop is the cemetery.